Hello, in this video we are going to create a hash, identify the hash format, and then we are going to crack the hash using the tool John the Ripper, which is a powerful and free password cracking tool. Exactly what is the purpose of hashing? Hashing is the best way of securely storing passwords. When we register an account on a website and create a password, no one should ever be able to see your password in plain text ever, not even the administrators or developer of the website. Let me show you with an example. So if I were to create an account somewhere and I have to give my name, sign up with name, username, email, and then create a password. Let's say I create a password that is mushroom head dash 280. So if my password is stored exactly like it is, like we can see it in plain text, this is a huge risk. So if there is a breach or if someone working at the company can see it because they have access to the database, this is just not good. No one should ever be able to know what my password is. So if by using hashing, it will look something like this. Not exactly like this, but it's not going to be the original password like you can see on line 1. So this gives us a lot more protection. Now you may be wondering why hashing is the best way to store passwords and not encryption, and that's because hashing is a one-way function, so we can never revert the hash back to its original format. Encryption, on the other hand, is a two-way function, so the data can always be decrypted back to its original format. So let's start by creating our hash that we can later crack with John the Ripper. So to create the hash, I'm actually going to use CyberChef. Let's find their hashing section. There we have it, and then we can choose which algorithm we're going to use. So for this example, I will just go with MD5. So I'm going to drag that under recipe, and then I will type elephant as my password. So this is elephant in plain text, and in the output section, we now have the hashed the MD5 hash for elephant. So I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to create a directory that I can work in. I'm going to change into that directory and then create a file called hash.txt where I store the MD5 hash. So now we know that this is a MD5 hash, but let's say we didn't know that. Then it's important to try to figure out what kind of hash you're dealing with. So I'm just going to search for hash analyzer and choose the top one. And if I paste in the hash, let's see. Okay, so it gives me a good recommendation that the hash type is either MD5 or MD4, which narrows down our possibilities by a lot, as there are many other algorithms for hashing. So now that we have our hash and we're quite confident about it maybe being MD5 or MD4, let's have a look at John the Ripper tool that we're going to use. So if you're not familiar with John the Ripper, I strongly recommend you to use the dash help just to see their help manual, which gives a good explanation on how to use the tool and what kind of arguments that can run with it. The one I want to use first is actually going to be list formats. just to see what kind of hashing formats that this tool supports, just to make sure that we're not using John the Ripper and it somehow doesn't support the hashing format that we're trying to crack. Okay, so this is not the easiest output to read, so let's try to clear our screen and then use grep and -I just to make the result case insensitive and provide it our search term, which is going to be MD5. And we can see that everything that's highlighted in red is going to be our search term, which is MD5, which just makes it easier to see that it actually does support some various MD5 formats. Now, on the first one, we can see MD5 crypt, but when we created the hash, we only chose MD5, and I can't really see that. So let's try raw MD5 first and see what's going to happen. So when we're going to use our tool, we need to provide John as the first part of the command. And then we are going to tell it what type of file we're going to use. We're going to use rocku. And then this means that John is going to run through this rocku.txt file and create MD5 hash of all the passwords inside this list and then compare it with the next file we're going to give, which is going to be our hash.txt. So if there is a match, he will let us know. Let's try to run our command. And nothing happened because I forgot to specify what type of hash format we are going to use, probably. Yes, okay, now it works. So the reason it didn't work the first time is because I forgot to tell it to use this format, which is probably going to make it difficult, or maybe even John is going to use another format, another hashing algorithm, which is going to give different types of answers. I'm not really sure, but the point being is that it's very important to try to provide the right type of format that we're dealing with, and then it's going to print out our password in orange colors, and we know that we used elephant as the password. So this is just a quick tutorial on how to use John the Ripper.